10 weekends in jail, followed by 10 years probation. That's the punishment for a former Rochester police officer accused of...
This video was intended to inform and educate the public.
Welcome once again to another video by the Junkyard News. And I want you to strap on your seatbelts, people. Sit down. This one is really gonna piss you off. Let's get into it. A former New York officer named Shawn Jordan is celebrating a victory after he was given, in a plea deal, a extremely lenient and light sentence after pleading guilty to doing unthinkable acts with a 13-year-old. Being called an epitome of injustice as well as dangerous for a judge to have given a sentence of 10 weekends in jail to a former upstate New York police officer who pleaded guilty. That's right, he pled guilty with a plea deal for what he did to a minor before his forced resignation from the New York police force, according to a prominent advocate for child survivors. Now, Jordan, 40, pleaded guilty to second-degree rape and forcible touching in March in connection with allegations that he had done unthinkable acts against the minor, who at the time was 13, and this was back in 2022. Under this plea agreement, the judge sentenced him on Wednesday to spend 10 weekends in jail, as well as 10 years on probation. The judge also ordered him to register as an offender and pay fines. Now, the mother of the victim implored and begged the judge to send him to prison, saying that he ruined her daughter's life and doesn't deserve to be out on the street. Now, the judge approved Jordan's plea deal after telling him, "I hope you feel shame. I hope you feel remorse. And I hope you never hurt another minor again." While the judge reportedly said Jordan's admitted actions left her with no words, she ended up approving the plea agreement. Voices of outrage have said that a sentence of 10 years in prison or more would make a lot more sense than one of 10 weekends. There is no justice. Now, the local assistant district attorney told news agencies that she was not entirely satisfied with the sentence given to Jordan. You think? But despite the brief corresponding punishment for him, she stated that her office proceeded with Jordan's plea agreement after considering the impact of actually having to make the minor now testify and face her accuser in court and relive that whole experience while looking at him and being drilled on the stand. She also added, "When I was given the opportunity to consider whether or not we'd take a plea deal, absolutely all day in a circumstance like this, I won't hesitate." Now, the ex-cop apparently, after finishing this deal and walking out of the courtroom, went on social media and bragged at the light sentence he received, scoffing at the justice system. This just makes me sick. Shawn Jordan, a 40-year-old former Rochester police officer, had the shockingly light sentence handed to him on Wednesday after making a plea deal concerning the 2022 incident with a minor who was 13. Jordan has been reportedly bragging about receiving such a lenient punishment for his heinous crime. The prosecutor did say that they're thankful this is all over for the victim and her family. It's been a long process to get to this point. Ultimately, just thankful they can move on and start to heal. Well, not only do you have the victim having a lifetime to reflect on what this ex-cop did to her, but now she's got to live with the fact that her and her family got no justice. 10 weekends in jail. And probation. Give me a break. Now, the whole reason the DA says that they took this deal and gave this ex-cop this deal, they claim it's not because he was a cop. It's because what this ex-cop was accused of doing to this young lady didn't come to light for years after the fact. And by that time, there was no evidence. It was pretty much just her word against his word. And the DA, in the back of their mind, of course, they're thinking, all right, you put this child on the stand. What type of witness is she going to be able to hold up on the stand, or is she going to break? And how will a jury react? Is it possible, even in the slightest, that a jury is not going to believe her testimony when it's just one word against the other's word and no evidence to back it up? What do you think? Do you think the prosecutor should have just flipped that coin and gave it a shot and possibly have the officer be found not guilty and not have any punishment? Or do you think at least he's going to be spending 10 weekends in jail and being on probation for the foreseeable future? Comment what you think below. Be careful out there, people. Be very careful, or the next video, next story we talk about could be involving you or your family in the next one. Thanks again.
Many out there expressed outrage over the sentence when it was announced yesterday.
Whole new proposal. Is that right?
Sir. Yes, sir. You're going to like it, too, because it is a sweet deal. Check it out.
Rightly pointing out some guilty of similar crimes get years in prison. But today, the Ontario County District Attorney told me why it was the best they thought they could get. Ontario County District Attorney Jim Ritz says he understands why people are upset. Former Rochester police officer Shawn will only spend fewer than a dozen weekends in jail, but he says both his prosecutor and the judge in this case did what they could, saying the judge gave him the max under the agreement. Now, she could have not accepted that agreement, he says, but she knew Jordan would never have accepted another agreement that included prison time.
Child sex offenders in prison and police officers in prison, compound those things, and it would have, he knew exactly what he was facing if prison was in the work.
If I were you, I'd be less worried about their sentences and more concerned with their swaps.
Swaps? Guys swapping smokes, desserts, TV time, all for first crack at you.
You're not a human in here, you're currency. So stop stressing and save your strength. Gonna need it.
I don't believe for a second that we would have resolved this with a plea had prison been the disposition.
Ritz says they were forced to negotiate because the case largely relied on the story of a child, and that story did not come out until well after the crime.
When you have a delayed disclosure, that impacts on the ability to obtain forensic evidence, for there to be medical evidence for any of those things that happen, and so they don't exist. And we know that they don't exist because time passes and bodies heal. And so what we're ending up with is a case that relies on a child going into court to talk about a sensitive subject in front of their accuser. And the re-victimization of a child in doing that is always like one of the things we have to consider.
Videos uploaded by the Junkyard News are helped in part by viewers just like you. You can show your support for this channel by clicking the thumbs up, sharing our videos, or hitting that all-important support button on our channel page. Don't want to miss a video or a story? Make sure to check us out and like us on Facebook at The Junkyard News.